Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us for our Northern Light Health, Good Health is Good Business Zoom conference. COVID-19 is still with us and essentially ignoring how much we'd like to put it into the rearview mirror. We'll provide an update on the latest COVID-19 information. The focus of today's session is a look at another aspect of working with people. Our experts will tune us into engaging, retaining, and growing our workforce during one of the most challenging times any of us has had to face as owners and managers. I'm Dr. Ed Gilkey, Senior Physician Executive at Northern Light Beacon Health. I'll be your moderator for the next hour. Our panelists today are Maureen Lafferty, Vice President of Talent, Development, and HR Business Teams at LL Bean. Katie Shorey, Director of Engagement at Live and Work in Maine. Melissa Scahan, Vice President of Mission Integration at Northern Light Mercy Hospital. Lindsay Hamilton, Director of Provider Recruitment and Retention at Northern Light Health. Dr. Jim Jarvis, Director of Clinical Education at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center and Senior Physician Executive of our COVID-19 Incident Command at Northern Light Health. Before we get started, I will read our legal disclosure. The coronavirus pandemic is an ongoing, continuously evolving situation. Northern Light Health encourages everyone to follow federal and state governmental guidance and mandates. Northern Light Health does not know the particulars of your situation, so the information presented today is general in nature and is based upon Northern Light Health's own experience, which may or may not apply in your specific situation and which may be revised as we learn more about the coronavirus. Accordingly, following any guidance Northern Light Health presents today in no way guarantees that you, your employees, and/or your customers and clients will not contract or spread the coronavirus. A reminder, this hour is for you. If at any time you have a question for our panelists, please use the Q&A function. I'll keep track of your questions and have our speakers respond. Also, I hope each of you will take a few minutes immediately following this hour to answer our quick 5-question survey. Your input directly affects our topics and helps guide our future conferences. Dr. Jarvis will start us off with the latest on COVID. Dr. Jarvis?
Well, thank you, Ed. The last time I presented was, I think, a little over a month ago, maybe even 2 months now, and we were certainly on a bad trajectory here in the state of Maine and across New England. Thankfully, things have improved, particularly in the state of Maine, but across most of New England as well. So looking at the national map, we still see that there's some hotspots around the country, and that really kind of talks about the differences between the way New England has responded to the virus and many of the other places around the country. If we look at Maine specifically, most of our counties now are in the low or medium risk category, with Piscataquis County still having some significant spread. The differences here is that, of course, we had our yet another surge that happened late February through early May, while the rest of the country was seeing a significant decrease in cases. At that time, many places around the country certainly decreased their mitigation strategies. Requirements for masking went down. The CDC's guidance around masking lessened them in many parts of the country. But in New England, particularly in Maine, we were still on an upswing. And when we lessened them at around the same time as everybody else, that caused us to actually see an increase in cases. But we've gotten over that hump, and cases of hospitalizations have gone significantly lower, as have cases around our community. The next slide, please. But we're not quite out of the woods yet. So if you look at this, it's actually a graph over the last 18 months of where cases were in the state of Maine, new cases on a daily basis. You can see that huge spike there in February of this year when we were dealing with Omicron and its various subvariants. And then we saw a little bit of a dip, and then you see that steady increase that happened not too long ago. But really what I want you to focus in on is at the tail end of this graph. Again, we are headed in the right direction, that we are coming down. But if you take a look at the line all the way across, you can see that there were periods of time during the pandemic where we were in a much better position than we are right now. So all that said, we need to continue to remain vigilant and be cautious. People should still be getting vaccines if they've not been vaccinated yet, wearing their mask when they're in public places, and trying to avoid large crowded situations, and test if you're not feeling well. Next slide, please. So what can we do? I'll just do a quick update about where we are with vaccines right now. First boosters are now recommended for anyone age 5 and above, and those should be a messenger RNA vaccine, so either Moderna or Pfizer. A second booster is recommended for people who are age 50 and above, and for those who are 12 and above who have immunocompromising conditions. And in this case, only a messenger RNA vaccine is recommended for that second booster. For all of these, we're talking about usually a 4-month interval between your last dose of your vaccine and your next dose of vaccine. We do expect authorization, go back just one slide, please. We do expect authorization for initial vaccine series for children 6 months to 5 years. We expect that by the end of this month. It may even be a little bit sooner than that. We do expect that it will be a 2-shot series from the Moderna vaccine and a 3-shot series for the Pfizer vaccine, though I will say there is speculation that Moderna will have to add a 3rd shot after a period of time. So good news on that front. And then lastly, after I made this slide, one more bit of good news is that Novavax, which is a different kind of vaccine than what we saw with either of Pfizer or Moderna or with Johnson & Johnson, may become available in the next couple of months to people in the United States. So that'll just add yet another tool for us, particularly for those people who are hesitant to get a messenger RNA vaccine. Next slide. This is just a reminder for how you can find out where to schedule a vaccine booster shot or even a flu shot if you haven't had your flu shot yet this year, or for the coming flu season, is to go and visit our patient portal, and we can get you scheduled for a vaccine at any time. Next slide. Well, typically we only talk about coronavirus. I did want to talk a little bit about monkeypox because it is getting quite a bit of press right now. Right now, this is not a significant threat, and I want to reiterate that this is not a significant threat to the general population, but it certainly bears watching because it is a unique situation that seems to be expanding as we speak. Next slide. So what is monkeypox? Monkeypox is in the family of orthopox viruses that include smallpox and cowpox. It is a misnamed entity. It is not related to monkeys. Small animals are actually believed to be the reservoir in nature. It got its name because it was studied in monkeys when it was first discovered. It's a large DNA virus that typically is spread by close contact with an infected individual. So distinctly different than when we're talking about coronavirus. It is not as transmissible from a respiratory standpoint, and therefore is not that big of a concern from that kind of spread. It's endemic in West Africa, but there is concern because now there are well over 200 worldwide cases outside of Africa. In fact, that number may be approaching 1,000 to 2,000 cases at this time. It typically causes a mild self-limited symptom, which can progress to the characteristic pox rash, which you can see on the slide there. But it can cause serious health conditions that can lead to death. So it is something that's serious and we need to be watching. Again, general population, low risk. Next slide, please. So there are 2 vaccines that are approved for prevention and exposure prophylaxis. The traditional vaccinia vaccine that caused the scar that you see there on the slide was given to most people who were born before 1977. Since then, we have not been vaccinating against smallpox, and the protection against smallpox also protects against monkeypox. There is a newer vaccine called Jynneos that has fewer side effects and is easier to administer. However, it is in a much less supply. Right now, there are no plans for any large-scale vaccination efforts against either monkeypox or smallpox, and I don't expect that to happen. I think it will always be a targeted approach that if somebody does test positive for monkeypox, that there will be a targeted vaccination again for people who have been in contact with that particular individual. And I think that might be my last slide.
Well, thanks, Jim. I do have one question before we switch gears. We're starting to hear about Omicron BA4 and BA5 subvariants. They seem to be much more transmissible. In fact, the reinfection rate for people recently infected is very high. Do you think this will translate into a late summer surge in the US?
Yeah, so unlike when we first started these webinar series where we actually could predict some of what we could see at least 2 weeks down the road, sometimes as much as 3 months down the road with where we are going. It is now far more difficult for us to predict where we are going with these new variants. And that's because each one acts a little bit differently and the general population is acting differently at large. And so those 2 factors have made it difficult to look at predictive models. Right now, I have no data saying how much of Maine's cases are those now sub-variants of Omicron, but we have seen cases or numbers from around the country that particularly in the South, those numbers are getting a little bit higher, representing somewhere between 10 and 20% of new cases. As you said, it does appear that these two new subvariants are more transmissible than the original Omicron, which, as we have talked about many, many times, is far more transmissible than the other variants we have discussed during the pandemic. So again, a cause for some concern and for us to continue to monitor the situation there. In England, they are seeing that these two new subvariants are becoming the more dominant strains. If the US follows that same pattern, then we may start talking about having a summer surge or an earlier than a fall surge that we've been predicting for quite some time now. So unfortunate, this virus continues to change to try to get itself around any strategies that we put in place to limit its spread.
So behind the scenes, I suspect you and I will be talking about this over the next month and two.
We probably will be, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that, Jim.
No problem. Thanks, Ed.
Sure. Next up is Katie Shorey, sharing her perspective of the workforce across all of Maine. She will help us to understand how to differentiate in the marketplace to enable attracting and retaining people. Katie?
Thank you, Ed. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Shorey. I'm the Director of Engagement for Live and Work in Maine. A little backstory, we really just started as a call to action. As many of you know, Maine is known for vacation land and we get a lot of visitors, but people weren't thinking about Maine as a great place to grow your career. And we wanted to change that. So that is why we exist. We are really a marketing effort aimed to let people know about what kinds of career opportunities there are in the state, the different types of industries and employers that we have, as well as our quality of life. So we are focused on talent attraction and retention because it's very important that we also keep our young people, as you know, but we need new people to enter the state and the workforce given our growth and long-term plans. So a little bit about our organization. As I mentioned, we are a nonprofit and we partner with as many organizations, individuals, and initiatives that we can. And I'll just give you some examples of things that we do. We have a big online social media presence and we do a lot of storytelling. We partner with organizations to really share what they're working on. Right now, we actually have a partnership with DHHS. We are launching a healthcare campaign focused on young people ages 18 to 26. The idea there is that they don't necessarily know what types of careers that we have in state, and we want to help them be very well aware of what we have from top to bottom of the state, from York to Cumberland, or York to Aroostook County. We also have a collaboration with Boots to Roots. Boots to Roots is an organization that specifically focuses on transitioning military folks. The military will pay for people to go anywhere once they're done with their service. And so we think, why not Maine? And I'm sorry if you're hearing a little bit of noise right now. There is a large construction project that just started outside my window, so I apologize for that. And we also have a partnership with them really focused on helping to market careers in Maine. So we're doing a lot of out-of-state efforts. And we recently launched a Welcome Home series. Welcome Home is focused on helping people who either are boomerang, so people who left the state and came back, such as myself, or people that found themselves new to Maine especially during the pandemic. They didn't have a way to find community, meet people. So we decided to launch a series of meet and greet events from Skowhegan to Machias to Presque Isle to Bridgeton, Portland, Brunswick, Bath. We're hosting these events with local partners in each of these parts of the state to really help people find their people. It's really important for retention for people to feel like they have friends and connections. And we're really testing that program out this year. So you can find that information about that online, liveworkmaine.com/welcome home. And separately, we also have a job board. We are a job board that only features Maine companies and Maine jobs. It's different than Indeed and LinkedIn. And we have seen great success for people to learn more about what's happening in the state, but also giving them an action step of looking for a job here. And last two things I will say about, just to give you some examples of things that we're doing, the Educate Maine is a great organization. They have an internship cohort experience called Maine Career Catalyst. So it doesn't matter if you have your own internship program at your work or as an employer, you can opt your interns into the Maine Career Catalyst program. So they are able to meet other interns, they're able to network, they're able to hear from different companies all across the state. It really gives them a great opportunity, not only to build a network, but feel really confident that if and when they're done with school, they know that they can come to Maine and have a network to plug into and different employers to consider. And so those are just some of the programs that we work on. And I'll go to the next slide. So I want to talk a bit about what I'm hearing from employers across the state. And I think it's very important just to note that talent attraction and retention is super, super important. We need to keep our young people. I have a personal story of growing up in Sweden out near Freiburg. And I was told that I needed to leave. I needed to leave the state to get different experience, and that's how I was going to succeed. And I just sort of reject that notion now because I was not aware of the amazing opportunities that we have in the state. So retention is definitely important, and there are efforts that we are working on that front. But for this slide and this conversation, we're definitely talking a lot about new people and how we get new talent to Maine. It's important in order for Maine and the employers to thrive into the future. We do need new people to enter our workforce. So what we're hearing over and over again for people that found their way to Maine is that we aren't selling ourselves adequately. We have so many amazing things going on in different spaces, from aquaculture to the modernization of our traditional industries, vet tech, health tech, the healthcare industry that we have here, the professional services. We have some really, really great success stories that we need to brag a bit more about. So I think when people are explaining, or if you are an employer and you're hiring people to your place of work, it's also important to do storytelling about other industries, because that makes a more comprehensive picture, paints a more comprehensive picture of what's going on in the state. If people want to move to a place where they know action is happening in other industries other than theirs. And we heard Angus King say this the other day, so I kind of stole it from him, that we get to this mindset switch around, instead of just living where you work, we get to work where we live, and quality of life is huge. So just make sure that as you're attracting or aiming to attract new people to your work, that the quality of life piece can be built in to these job descriptions. So recruiters are using quality of work as a selling point. The number of lakes, the number of ski mountains, the number of hiking trails, the veteran benefits that we have, no traffic, all of these things can really help be really good selling points. And we heard some stories recently from, there were some people that came from Silicon Valley to work at Texas Instruments, and they were hesitant to move here at first, but once they got here, they wanted to stay. And however you can help people test drive Maine and get a sense of it is definitely a thing to do. And so again, I'll point on, or I'll hone in on this retention piece quickly. I do think we are doing a disservice to young people by not letting them know what kinds of opportunities that we have in state. So junior achievement and Jobs for Maine graduates and school counselors are doing what they can, but we definitely want to step up our efforts to be able to help young people know what kind of opportunities are out there for them. And the last thing I want to mention is the Opportunity Maine tax credit. It is a tax credit that is administered by Maine Revenue Services, and we promote it. And essentially, it's a tax incentive. Doesn't matter where you went to school in undergrad, anywhere in the United States, 2016 onward. If you live and work in Maine, essentially, if you pay income tax in Maine, you can take advantage of the credit. And it has been expanded to master's degrees. So for folks that are DOs and physician assistants and Physical therapists, if they're going to school or getting their master's in Maine, they can also take advantage of that credit. So just make sure that's something that you're aware of. And yes, just a quick reminder about the welcome home events that we're hosting across the state. I encourage, even if you've lived here for decades, for your whole life, but you want to meet new community members or be a community member that welcomes new people to the community, it's an all hands-on approach. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Katie. One of our participants has a question about Live and Work in Maine job board looking for technical assistance. So if you have an answer available to that, put it in the Q&A or the chat for us, if you will. So thanks for that presentation. Lindsay Hamilton now joins us and looks at work-life balance with a family-centric approach to recruitment. Lindsay?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gilkey. This is such an exciting topic and something that
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can. You can start over and that'll be fine. Thank you.
Sorry about that. No problem. Hi, Dr. Gilkey. Thank you very much. I love talking about this topic.
Lindsay, we've lost you again.
Oh,
Nope, you're back.
Oh,
Okay,
so,
thank you.
Sorry. This is a topic that comes up quite frequently in our day.
Hi, sorry to jump in, Lindsay. This is Ben. You may want to switch your mic input back to your computer microphone. Thanks.
Do you want it? Does this work better?
That sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. So one of the things we talk about daily in provider recruitment is what folks are looking for in a position and ultimately a location to settle down in. The biggest thing that we're hearing on a day-to-day basis is that work-life balance is hugely important. And the interesting thing about work-life balance is that it means something different to everyone. It's essentially how you're balancing your life combined with your work. And one of the things that the pandemic kind of forced us to realize is that we could actually blend those lines and blur those lines much easier than we ever thought possible. So we found that professionals are looking to continue that. They don't want to miss out on family-friendly activities. They want to intermeld their life and their work. So for some people, that's something where it's a family-friendly schedule. They want to make it to their kids' outings. They want to just have that flexibility on a day-to-day week to have a schedule that will work around that family. Another thing is we're hearing, it's always been a topic, but that 4-day work week, being able to work in a compressed work week. Some people really like that idea of 4 days on and 3 days off. And then we're hearing more and more about people that actually want to look at what full-time schedules are. And a lot of organizations are offering a reduced schedule than that traditional 40 hours a week. So that's something that's coming up more and more. And I do want to say that the interesting piece of this is, although work-life balance is one of the most critical things nowadays people are looking at, compensation is still important. So there is no sacrifice, especially when a market is the way it is, to sacrifice compensation. So it's kind of in tandem. The next slide, please. So then we kind of talk about, what in that work-life balance, what is in that life, what is going to attract someone to a position or an estate. And we're finding that, as Dr. Gilkey mentioned, is any recruitment effort where you have that family-centric approach is incredibly essential to having success in hiring people into your organization. And again, this looks different depending on what you are and what your interests are and what your driving forces are in life. People are looking more and more for what community organizations are available for themselves and their family, their spouses, their children, and even pets. They want to know what groups they can become a part of. They want to know what social activities they can do. And because there's not that same barrier there used to be, People are finding that they have more time and they're prioritizing that time to get them involved in volunteering in community organizations. Parents are wanting to be not just to one game a month, but they're wanting to go to every one of their children's games. That the focus on what's important in his life is really shifted, and people want to make sure that their jobs can help them be available for whatever community activities or things are happening. People are also looking for variety and availability in housing options. This is coming up more and more regularly. And what this means is that people, when they relocate to the area, what they might be looking for in a place to settle down is very different than what they ultimately might look for. So many folks moving to the area are looking for maybe a furnished apartment, maybe a 1-bedroom apartment, something close to where they're working. But they also want to know that when they want to settle down into a 4-bedroom house with 2 acres of land, that's going to be available to them. So a lot of times when they're looking at relocating, people are wanting to know not just what they want today, but what's the availability of something that they might want 5 years from now. And again, a lot of what I'm talking about is items that Katie just talked to you about. Quality of life is huge. People want to have a safe place to raise their family, to live. They want to be able to live in a place where they can take a walk at night. They want to make sure that there's daycare availability. And daycare that offers non-traditional schedules. That's something that we're hearing a lot more is what are the hours of the daycare? And if they're, 8 to 4:30 or 7:30 to 5:30, sometimes those don't fit those schedules that we've talked about. And of course, something that hasn't changed is the great school systems. This is something that never has changed. People always want a good quality school system, and is something that we talk about on a daily basis with anybody that we're recruiting. Similar to what I was just talking about, people are not only concerned about what's in it for them, but when they're looking at a new opportunity, they want to look at what's in it for their children and what's in it for their spouses. When we're talking about opportunities for children, candidates want to know what are the sports offerings, what sports are offered in different districts, and what that trajectory of that sport looks like. They also want to know what other extracurricular activities their children are able to participate in separate from sports, debate teams, civil rights teams, envirothons, social community organizations that their children can be a part of, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. And then obviously academic offerings, what happens on both sides of the spectrum? Do our schools offer, and also out of school experiences that their children can participate in, summer STEM programs. These are all things that are coming up as real definitive decision points when people are looking at their next position. As I commented before, pet friendly is huge. One of the biggest things is when candidates come and they visit Bar Harbor and they see the dog bowls of water. You would be surprised the amount of times people mention that when we're talking to candidates, and how it was great to be able to have your dog lay down with you when you ate outside in Bar Harbor. People are bringing in not just family, isn't just their spouse now, it's children, it's extended family, it's their pets. So taking in consideration those when you're looking to recruit people to the area. Social activities outside of community organizations, and this involves restaurants. And also we go into the quick access to recreational activities, parks and waters. State of Maine has a really great, obviously Acadia National Park and state parks. And one of the biggest selling points is you can actually go and visit one of these places in a day. You don't need to schedule a weekend getaway. You can take a ride after work. And so that's something that's very attractive to people looking to relocate to the area.
Well, thanks, Lindsay. Katie, please join Lindsay for some questions. Lindsay, baby boomers are known to measure their coworkers' value based on time spent working. Younger generations focus more on work products and outcomes as the measures of value. Baby boomers are commonly the executive corporate decision makers. Based on these different values, what are some ways to discuss work-life balance with baby boomer leaders to design ways to actualize a truly beneficial work-life model?
Dr. Gilkey, that is an excellent question and a real challenge that leaders are facing on a day-to-day basis. But it's not any different to any of the other generational differences that we faced for years. I truly believe it comes down to building strong relationships with your colleagues, your teammates, trust, frequent communication, and of course, having mutual respect. In conversations with baby boomers, I think it's really important to stress that this is the opportunity to actually reinvent the way we're looking at work life. And that to know that organizations that are able to talk about these things will actually be more adaptable and ultimately more successful. Lastly, I would tell baby boomers that to take advantage of our younger generation's views, and that way you can stay ahead of the curve and then instead of reacting to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think we're going to need some work on that. I can remember when my son went to work for Quest Diagnostics, I suggested to him, his 55-year-old boss, he should start off by figuring out when he comes in and when he goes home and gets there before and leaves after. So I think that needs to be modified. So thanks for that, Lindsay. Katie, Maine has and is investing in broadband connectivity and high-tech business development. Are there resources to tap into to further understand and promote these opportunities and how remote work is truly viable in Maine?
Yes, this is quite the hot topic. There is a great organization, the Broadband Coalition of Maine, and the director of that was actually tapped by the governor to lead the Maine Connectivity Authority, which is a new state agency. And Andrew Butcher is at the helm of that organization and is building a great team. So they are on it. My parents, for example, in Sweden, they're still they have like almost dial-up speeds, and so there are a lot of towns that aren't well connected. And I know that Andrew Butcher and his team are definitely not only the place to go to if you have questions or you want to advocate or you need resources. They are the group, but I know that they are diligently working on it. And I do just want to make one note about the remote work topic, because as we know, a lot of people not only were able to work remote during the pandemic, but came to Maine and worked remotely. And it's great. It's good for the tax base. It's good to get new people here. But I do want to note that it's very important that remote work is one talent attraction strategy, but it can't be the end all be all. We need people to work actually at Maine employers, but getting them here is one step. Maybe they have a company partner that could work at a local company. I've heard time and time again that people who have worked for big companies like Google or Amazon that are here, they want to work at a local company. And so great, they're here now, we got them locked in, and they are then more likely to work for a Maine company down the line. So talent attraction, remote workers are just one piece of that puzzle.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Katie. Thanks, Lindsay. Maureen Lafferty is our next speaker. Maureen will take an outsider view. Maybe this is best designated as an outside view. Well, anyway, you'll see for yourself in a minute. An outsider view with a look at benefits that enhance attracting and keeping employees. Maureen?
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. It's really nice to be here with all of you. I'm Maureen Lafferty, Vice President of Talent Development and HR Business Teams at LL Bean. When I think about attracting, engaging, and retaining employees, I actually go back to something that I think is either attributed to Leon Gorman, our long-term president of LL Bean, or maybe even to LL Bean himself. What they used to say about our products and our product messaging is that it's about the steak and not about the sizzle. And by that, I mean our strategies for attracting and keeping employees are about offering people a place to work where they feel connected to our purpose and connected to each other. While there are any number of perks and fun benefits a company can offer, I'd argue that what really attracts and holds employees is depth and substance, or the steak, not the sizzle. In sharing our approach, I'm going to work from the bottom up of this slide. At the foundation is our purpose, which is to inspire and enable people to experience the restorative power of being outside. This collective and shared sense of purpose is really our strongest connection point, and it's one of our strongest attraction points and retention points for current and future employees. As part of our Vision 2025 strategic plan, we have several initiatives focused on engaging employees, enhancing our culture, and furthering our social impact. know that now as people look for jobs, they want to work for a company where they feel like they share values, they want to believe in the purpose and the mission and what that company is trying to do. And we know that we have a really strong foundation to stand on there. Through our strategic efforts, we are specifically focused on engaging the full potential of our employees and ensuring that everybody can bring their whole selves and talents to the work. We're guided in that work by our core values that have really been in place since the start of our company over 100 years ago, and our very active stakeholder philosophy, which guides our strategy, our decisions, and our priorities. We also have, over the last several years, have taken a real focus on really sort of approaching the workplace and how we support each other and how we support employees. We've really tried to focus on fundamentally human approaches, and of course doing that with the sense of creating belonging and inclusion for our employees. We've also always had a strong emphasis on physical and mental well-being for employees. Certainly the last 2 years and all of the challenges of the pandemic have put that in even sharper focus for us. And I would say that has been a particular emphasis that we have taken over the last several years, really implementing more and more programs to help employees feel sort of both physically and mentally sound, and really having that be a very prominent conversation in our organization in terms of how we support employees' physical and mental well-being. And then lastly, we know that we want to have employees be able to grow their careers and develop in their work with us. So we have a keen focus on development for employees at all stages of their career. Lastly, we know that it's important and motivating to be on a winning team, and that's part of the whole equation, the ability to achieve strong business results and share those results with all employees. We really believe that our strong foundation, our emphasis on values, engaging employees, and creating that sense of inclusion is what drives our business results. So we create a really nice, fulfilling cycle here where our business results help to fuel the programs and benefits that we offer, and the strong foundation of our benefits, our strategic focus, and our values helps us to achieve our business results. If we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the last slide was really what's at the foundation of how we attract and engage and retain employees. And a strong foundation is really important, but it's also important that we look at what can a company offer that's meaningful to their employees, what benefits can a company provide that are really differentiated and unique, how can the company meet the needs of their employee base, everyone from sort of the early in career employees to those employees who are anticipating retirement. And then lastly, it's important to look at how your benefit offers really support and reflect and reinforce the purpose, mission, or core values of the organization. I'm actually going to start in the middle of this slide with one of those benefits that we think is quite unique and special about LL Bean, and we think really helps to differentiate us, which is how we support our employees in experiencing the restorative power of being outside. For all of our year-round employees, we provide 3 paid days off that we call outdoor experience days. These are specifically focused on getting outside, whether it's on your own, with your family, or with a bunch of coworkers. And we really encourage employees to use those days in addition to their paid time off benefits. We have a number of cabins at Rangeley Lake that are available to employees for a nominal fee, both on a weekend and a weekday basis. The always famous, ever popular purchase discount that provides employees with a discount on items purchased from LL Bean. We also have an employee store where we sell samples and returned items at very, very steep discounts. And then we also have our use room where employees can borrow equipment ranging from paddle boards to bikes to canoes to kayaks to coolers, tents, sleeping bags, camping stoves, really anything an employee needs to get outside. And, you know, I share that as an example of things that we can uniquely do as LL Bean because of who we are, the products we sell, and our purpose and our mission. But I think, you know, thinking creatively, companies have an opportunity to really think about what is their unique offer, what can they provide employees that is different than what any other company can provide. We of course offer, you know, traditional health and welfare benefits, but as we think about our benefits, we also want to think about how we support employees across multiple life stages and needs. So those are things like paid parental leave, adoption and fertility benefits, elder care consultation, leave of absence programs, employee assistance programs. Continuing with a holistic look at how we best support our employees and differentiate ourselves, we also want to make sure that our compensation is appropriate and fair, particularly for our hourly employees, which is really the bulk of our population when we look at our warehouse, manufacturing, customer service agents, and our retail stores. In March of 2022, we set a new starting minimum wage, and we've reshaped our hourly pay scales to support faster movement through our pay ranges. Our pandemic response has obviously been, like many companies, has been a very specific focus we've had over the last several years. We have put in place numerous safety protocols, not only to keep our employees safe, but also to keep our customers safe. And we've also continued to have programs around pay continuation and no absentee penalties if the illness is COVID-19 related. So we really want to make sure that our employees feel like they have access to safety measures and care that they need. We offer vaccinations in our on-site clinics, and we really want to make sure employees don't feel like they have to make a choice between coming to work sick or receiving a paycheck. And then lastly, I'll focus on our development efforts. Again, we want to look at supporting employees across the whole employment life cycle. We have online and virtual classes. We have programs that are led by LL Bean employees, as well as programs that are led by external partners. We have some educational partnerships. We have a mentoring program that we've launched in the last year. And then we also offer English language and literacy program on site during paid time for our employees. So in summary, what's been most helpful to LL Bean to attract, retain, and engage employees is focusing at both a strategic and a tactical level. At the strategic level, we have a strong foundation of a purpose-driven organization, prioritizing fundamentally human approaches and also achieving strong business results. And then at that more tactical level, it really is offering unique, meaningful, and differentiating benefits and taking a holistic approach to how we support employees. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Maureen. Melissa Scahan will now take a look at community partnerships as a meaningful way to grow a workforce. Melissa?
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, Dr. Gilkey. So very similar to LL Bean, Mercy has really attempted to just embrace fully the opportunity that partnering with new Mainers offers us. I'll never forget welcoming several hundred new Mainers at the expo in Portland a while back, and just seeing the energy and opportunity within the population. So we have really taken a full court approach to enhance opportunity. With that, we needed a variety of partners to help shape the work. So we have partnerships with several adult ed offerings or programs, many ethnic-based organizations. In her presence, the Greater Portland Immigrant Welcome Center offers us an app-based learning tool. And we've also hired a variety of staff, a workforce development coordinator with significant experience working at the state as well as with Department of Labor and in career centers, long history of working with New Mainers. And we've also hired an executive from within the Congolese community with community organizing as well as marketing experience. The combination of those two executives has really allowed us to develop very strong relationships with many in community and a constant stream of employees seeking to build a career with us, which is wonderful. One of the things that we've learned over time was a struggle, frankly, to access language acquisition programs that allowed people to progress in a timely fashion. We certainly heard from a lot in community that they struggled to either access direct instruction or that it wasn't enough hours. So it was a couple hours, a couple of days a week. To really advance timely, we know that at minimum, it's got to be 15 hours a week. And if more, that's even better. So we have developed that approach in partnership with some of the organizations that I mentioned to deliver on site. It is that integration of both direct instruction as well as app-based learning. And we've recently added speech therapy as well, really to advance people in a timely fashion to allow them to really reach their career goals. We've developed multiple apprenticeships in partnership with the state and have supported integration throughout our multiple career pathways with multilingual trainers. I do think that there is many opportunities here. Portland Adult Ed is also developing bridge programs for us that will be pre-work before you enter the apprenticeship. So it's really trying to be very deliberate in developing not only that language acquisition approach that is timely and evidence-based, but also supported career pathways so that people can really build on all of the skills and gifts they bring to us. Another critical component is truly paid time to meet their career goals and family needs. We are really building these as ensuring that people have paid time throughout their work day to take these classes, to use these tools to advance their language acquisition, and then continue on that targeted approach. You can go to the next slide, please. Another component really is honoring the previous career goals or previous careers that many New Mainers have experienced, and ensuring that credits are pursued with the New Mainers Center in Portland. Many of the folks that we are working with have multiple degrees, are multilingual, and really are so incredibly motivated to join the workforce. So want to make sure that we do everything we can to have them have the ability to leverage former careers, leverage former degrees, and build on their language acquisition. As I mentioned, we have articulated career paths that align with their aspirations. Many may have been licensed as a physician in another country and may choose a different faster pathway in the US, such as surgical tech or a variety of roles. We're super committed to ensure that diversification occurs at every level of the organization. So we're paying attention to that to make sure that our workforce and leadership reflects the communities that we serve. We have some training for staff and managers around cultural awareness and cultural humility. We have wonderful system director, Marwa Hassanian, as well as multiple community partners that help us in this area. And we're developing a resource guide, or really refreshing our resource guide for clinical teams to ensure they're well prepared to serve every patient who walks through the door at Mercy Hospital.
Well, thanks, Melissa. Maureen, please join Melissa for a few questions. Melissa, thinking about small businesses, apprenticeship and internships could be a fruitful path. Based on your experience, do you have suggestions about what organizations to reach out to in order to get the ball rolling? I'm wondering if we can provide more direction than cold calling the universities and colleges, the obvious place.
Absolutely. So we have had a wonderful partnership and response from the state. So the Department of Labor helps you register apprenticeships and can also kind of set a pathway for what is required to meet the requirements. We also, the adult eds in certainly in Southern Maine are well poised to help with any type of bridge preparation that needs to happen, and often support a variety, certainly in working with new Mainers, support their introduction to language and other resources. But I would really encourage you to start with the Department of Labor, adult eds, and then there is also a lot of wonderful work going on in the community colleges. So all of those organizations are deeply engaged in apprenticeships.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for that information, Melissa.
Sure.
Maureen, you bring a different perspective to the table since your company is selling the outside experience. Specifically, we all default to our primary thinking, and yours is outside. So your creativity leans in that direction probably very heavily. For those of us managing inside work teams, what further creative thinking could you help us to consider to bring the outside into our teams that work for their work lives? And I'm trying to get to, I haven't thought about that.
Sure. Well, thanks for that question. Yeah, so it does come quite naturally to us at LL Bean to be thinking about how we get outside and how we maximize our time outside. That said, I'm really a big proponent of starting where it's easy. Most of us, especially through the pandemic, we are in meetings pretty much back to back all day. We are on screens a lot if we're working remotely. And one of the easiest things you can do, either in person or while still remote, is take your meeting outside. You could sit on your back deck or sit outside somewhere and have your meeting. We have started to incorporate a lot of walking one-on-ones. So, I'll meet up with my employees, in different locations, and we'll just do our one-on-one walking, or, we'll plug in my headset and take my meeting on the road and listen as I walk. So again, I think that's a really easy way, and most organizations have pretty decent access to the outside. I also think what's really great about that is that different things happen when you're meeting with someone and you're not glued to a screen. We've all gotten really used to operating in this way, operating through screens over the last 2 years, but getting back to that in-person dynamic and really just looking at someone, having a conversation, not being distracted by the emails popping up. That is all really it's really helped when you're having your meeting outside. Other things. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Maureen. Finish up.
Sure. I think other things to consider is, what are the team building or volunteer opportunities that can take you and your employees outside? Again, that might just be a walk, or it might be volunteering at a local park or adopting a trail, things like that. Again, also really easy ways to build team, get outside. And then one of the other things that we've done at LL Bean since the pandemic is we've really tried to practice light meeting or no meeting Fridays. Again, trying to break that habit of us being in front of our screens all the time. So we really try to adhere to that. That gives us all an opportunity to have a little bit more flexibility in our day to get outside a bit more during the workday and not be glued to our screens.
Well, thanks for all those great ideas. I am taken away from this to think more about outside. I just kind of plow through the day like probably many people do. And we need to make that extra effort to think about it. So thanks for stimulating that. For this next segment, all of our panelists will join on video for questions and answers. So Katie, I'm going to start this question for you. And I'm going to probe a bit deeper on differentiation. So for me, as a big city transplant, albeit married to a Mainer, I came to Maine with an open mind. I had worked in numerous environments setting an expectation about healthcare workers, but I did not know really what I would expect in Maine. How do we further help prospective workers gain greater insights into their potential coworkers who are well-educated, quite competent, and typically very nice people?
Good question, Ed. I think it's funny. I've heard that time and time again, and I think the comment or the notion of boomerang of people who have left and then come back is very prevalent, and there are many people such as myself who wanted to get a different perspective and other skills and left the state, but then wanted to bring that skill set back to Maine and be giving here and really applying their skills and talents here. And I think Mainers are hardworking and smart and really, really committed. And I think that for those who are considering or potentially moving to Maine, it's very important to understand kind of our culture and our work ethic. We're very aware of our land and our seas and the local food movement and just just more community oriented. I've lived all across, and this is from my perspective, but I think as somebody who's lived all across the US, there's something about how we sort of operate. And I think that is something just to be mindful of, and more stories that need to be told during the interview process.
I think that's a good takeaway. More stories to be told. Well, I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 more questions here, folks. So, Lindsay, looking a bit more deeply into a family-centric approach to recruitment, how do you gather information on the family members of a candidate? Is there a way to know what's important to the family members at the right time?
Absolutely. So it's always a little bit of a dance because a lot of times when you're recruiting someone, you may have only had a phone conversation with them. You may have hopefully maybe done a Zoom interview, but it's really talking to them and asking them the question of what's important to you, both in a position and outside of work. When you're asking that question, a lot of times people just provide a lot of really helpful information, not just about what they're looking for in their next career endeavor, but what they're looking for outside of work, because we have melded those lines already. So by blending those lines, when you ask someone what they're looking for, it's an automatic response to start talking about life and work. And then being able to have that conversation and partner and say, hey, these are the things we have in the area. What other things do you like? And that conversation kind of goes long. And before you know it, you've talked to them for 20 minutes about different things we have in the area.
So that's great, Lindsay. Really, really paying attention to recruiting the family members as well goes a very long way. But it also makes me recall some of my rural experience where retention is really important, and it's so easy to forget about the significant other like immediately after, but instead spending time on retaining people by continuous focus on a family-centric approach. So thanks, Lindsay. Oh, maybe we got 30 seconds. I'd like to get this last question in, Maureen. Recognizing our audience represents various size companies, what benefits do you find are most important to employees? And you have a full repertoire, as you shared before. So a couple of those top 3, top 5 kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, of course, health and welfare benefits, it kind of goes without saying, is that, those are critically important to employee to have good medical coverage, dental coverage, vision coverage, and are critical core offers for any organization. But again, beyond that, and just to build on something I said earlier, I think what's really important and the opportunity to get creative is offering benefits that are meaningful to your employees and supports their needs and challenges. So, but know your employee population, know your demographics, know what is of concern to them, and look at ways you can offer benefits that really help support them in their full lives, not just their work lives, but in their lives outside of work.
So full lives and being creative. So thanks, Maureen.
Sure.
We have included some tools for you at the end of this presentation. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our panelists for sharing such vital information. I hope this hour helps you to successfully manage your workforce. Just a reminder, we will be emailing you a survey right after our conference. Please be sure to give us your feedback so we can continue to provide relevant information. Our next session will be on July 14th. We'll share the latest on COVID-19, and our focus will be on the dynamics of weight management. We hope you will join us. We will send you the link for this session. We encourage you to share the invitation with your friends and colleagues. By working together to promote good health, we will be promoting good business. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.